Today we will cover several features of your account, starting first with the basics. What is Taboola and how can native advertising help you grow? We'll look into accessing and navigating your account, moving on to tracking and targeting opportunities, as well as creating those campaigns with the targeting opportunities. And then lastly, we will take a look at the performance and insights and how you can optimize your campaign over time. To start, what is Taboola? Well, Taboola is a discovery platform that will help you reach new clients by surfacing information that they may like, but never knew existed. On search, there is intent. On social, there might be a referral. But what about users that don't know how to look for you yet? Well, that's where we come in. Our discovery algorithm is going to reach users when they are in the exploration phase. And it's for this reason that Taboola is a great resource for exposing new users to your content and bringing previous users back around to your site. Now let's get started by accessing your account. First, you're going to want to log into backstage.taboola.com. You can also access your dashboard by going to taboola.com and clicking on Login. Once you do log in with the email address that you used to create the account, you should see a page that looks similar to this. Now, if you don't see any information yet, it is likely because your campaign hasn't begun to run yet. No worries though, as your campaign data will appear as soon as you start running. But the bulk of your operations can be organized on the left-hand side of your dashboard, broken into several particular categories, namely looking at billing management, your campaign management, where you will go to organize and create all of your campaigns, and lastly, the Taboola Pixel. To start, we're going to quickly look at the billing management page. This is where you can go to organize your payment method. Starting first with the billing management tab. Here you can add your credit card information, you can edit the credit card information, and you can also see the most recent billing date. When you do add a credit card, note that the automatic billing enabled dash active you see in the top left of this image here might show that it's disabled or it hasn't charged the card yet. Not a worry there, as within a few minutes your campaign or your account should start attempting to charge the card or at least registering a signal. As soon as we get that feedback, your account will be active and you can resume building your campaigns. And then there's also the payment history tab. Here you will see the history of all credit card charges pertaining to your account, including the breakdown of the total amount, the value-added tax if you are operating in the EU, and any additional fees associated with the transaction. Now that we've got billing out of the way, we're going to move into organizing your account, setting up the tracking opportunities, and really moving into creating those campaigns. Starting first here, we have this breakdown. You see the Taboola Pixel section. And then we also have the campaign management section where we will look at campaign management, where you go to create and optimize your campaigns, your top campaign content, which will give you a breakdown of all the creatives you run in any given campaign. And lastly, the campaign summary, where all of the data and optimization tools will live for any given campaign or for your whole account. Now, one thing to note about today is that we will be going over the new Taboola Pixel. Some of you may have Pixel Management showing on your screen. This is our old Pixel and will be updated in the coming months. If you would like to switch over, you can simply email support@taboola.com and request this new Pixel. Otherwise, you can wait for it to be applied to your account. When we look at the Pixel Management page, you can click on either conversions or on audiences underneath. And ultimately what you're going to see here is the Taboola Pixel. In the top right corner, there's a dark blue button that says Create Pixel. Now what this is a snippet of code that you can place on your website to perform specific tasks, like tracking multiple actions, identifying a user's path through your website, and building custom audiences. When you click on Create Pixel, you will see that there's a base code provided to you. What you will want to do is copy and paste this code exactly as it's written into the header of every single page of your website. Once you have that placed, you will then be ready to go ahead and design or define your conversions. So to start, we'll look at one particular conversion type. This is a conversion by URL. So when you click on New Conversion from the Pixel page, you'll be given options to set this up. as long as the base code is applied to every page of the website, you'll be able to add partial URL conditions to determine where an action might be considered. For example, if you want to track actions for lead generation and every user that signs up gets to a thank you page, you can include that thank you portion of the URL string, and we will now register that as a conversion to display in your dashboard. The other type of conversion that we can offer is an event type pixel. Now, this will require an additional snippet of code to be added to the page where you are tracking this action. This will either be below the header for a page or in the relevant HTML snippet for an inline event. Some examples might include when users add items to a cart or purchases a product with a dynamic order ID. Or even still, users can apply it to button clicks or video views if you're looking to track certain activity that way. And also, if you're using an overlay like Google Tag Manager, you can even measure activity like how far a user scrolls down your particular web page. Then we look into audience setting. Very similarly, you will have multiple options for setting an audience using this particular pixel as long as it is placed on every page of your website. When you click on the Audiences tab, you will see a new custom audience button. And here again, we have URL type, where you simply enter a URL to track that user information. What we'll eventually do with this is use it as a retargeting pool for your future campaigns. And again, we also have an event type pixel for your custom audiences. And if you want to target users who've clicked on that add to cart button, or we can use this feature to run an abandoned cart campaign to suppress out users. Ultimately, this data can be found in the Help Center, but know that you have two different types of conversions with the single base code applied. Now we're going to just quickly touch on one of our most recently added features to the website, and this is our lookalike audience or lookalike modeling. You now have the ability to upload a hashed email list between 7,500 and 750,000 emails for any type of list. Once uploaded, our system will generate 5 new custom audiences for you to target. These 5 audiences focus on scale and similarity, with audience 1 being most similar to your email list, essentially favoring similarity over scale, and audience 5 being the widest list while still matching your customer base, but favoring scale over similarity. If you're unsure of which to use, audience 3 or 4 would be a good place to start because there's a good combination of similarity and scale combined with those users. This is very familiar to many of you who might have used Facebook marketing before. Lookalike modeling is now available on our platform. Once you have the pixels set up and implemented here so that we can effectively track your activity, we now want to go ahead and start creating and targeting your campaigns. When you click on the campaign management button on the left-hand side of your dashboard, you will get to a page that looks like this. It will have all of your campaigns in a row with a series of buttons available for you to manipulate or understand the data. Looking first in the top left, we have a drop-down so you can filter or organize what you are looking at. So if you want to look at only campaigns that are running or campaigns that have previously been rejected, you can take a look at that information and use it to your advantage. On the right-hand side, this is where the bulk of your activity will be performed per campaign. You have a series of icons starting first with the pause or play button all the way to the left. And that allows you to start or stop your campaign at any particular time. You are in full control of your campaign's budget and your activity, so feel free to use this at your leisure. When we look into the pencil icon, this is where you set up your campaign properties. So even once a campaign is already going, you can adjust the campaign targeting and any bid or budget that you put behind it as well. The third icon, that looks like a list. This will take you to your campaign inventory. This is where all of your ads live. So if you're looking to adjust your thumbnails, your headlines, or the landing page URLs, you will click on that third icon. And then lastly, we have that double page icon. This is a duplication item. If you're looking to duplicate a campaign and simply change one piece to maybe adjust the targeting or look at a different location for your users, this tool copies that same campaign with the inventory included, making it much easier for you to create a lot of campaigns. Now to really get started here, we're going to start by clicking on New Campaign in the top left corner. What you will see here again is the same material you'll see by clicking on the pencil icon over to the right-hand side. When you do click on New Campaign, we're first going to get to the Campaign ID section. Your name will not be published, but be specific here for the best housekeeping. This is going to help you keep your campaigns organized, especially once you do start running multiple. For example, we have users who run hundreds of campaigns, and this is the best way to keep organized for them. The next thing to consider is the branding text. Something important to note is that this will be published with your headline. Ideally, you would look to have your brand name or the landing page URL as the branding text, but also keep an eye on our Help Center as there are some branding text guidelines for material like, say, an app download. Next, we move on to the marketing objective. This is going to allow our algorithm to categorize your campaign with others following similar KPIs. So if you're looking to drive leads or drive website traffic, it's best to put something in here. As we get to the next section, we have the time frame. This allows you to set the range of when and where your campaign is going to run. Starting first with the start and end dates. You can basically put a timeline. You can have it run for an entire month. Some users have it only run for a few days. A good example, especially as we begin to approach the fall months, is to start thinking about your holiday bursts. Something like Black Friday, which will be coming up in 2.5 months, is going to be a great option for any e-commerce focused clients. And then one of our most useful tools for you in terms of targeting is your campaign schedule. You're going to default to run 24/7, but you do have the ability to set a custom time window. So for, again, you e-commerce folks, you might be looking to only run your campaigns from, say, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., where conversions are most likely to occur. If you're running a B2B campaign, maybe 9 to 5 is the best option for you. And even further, if you notice that there are different activities, say in the morning versus the afternoon, you can run morning and afternoon campaigns. Once you've set your time frame and added all of the naming conventions to your campaign, we're ready to move on to the targeting. Starting first with the location. Now you'll notice over here in the image on the left that when you just target a location, you have some gray buttons below. But the moment you enter a country, you will see that you can now target either the entire country, can narrow it down by region or state. If you're in the US, you have the ability to target by DMA. And then for most locations, we also have the ability to get as granular as zip code targeting. Next, we move on to platform targeting. Now, as a best practice, you are going to want to target only one platform at a time. While you can target all users the same, it's important to note that each platform is going to bid differently. So when you choose to run, say, smartphone and desktop together, smartphone that often comes in at about half the bidding cost of desktop will end up taking over a lot of the traffic, and you will get biased results, and you also won't get the best use of your CPC. And then we also have options for operating system targeting, blocking publishers, and audience targeting, which we will look at on the next page. Starting first with the OS targeting here. Now you have the ability to target or exclude a particular operating system. For the desktop campaigns, we work with Mac OS X, Linux, and Windows. And for mobile and tablet, we have iOS and Android targeting. Once you do choose a particular operating system, we can also get more narrow into subcategory. So we can look at the particular releases. Maybe you're looking to run iOS 11 versus iOS 10. That functionality is built into the platform, and you can set that up. I would recommend this most for app download campaigns, or if you have a deep understanding of where your traffic's coming from. It's not uncommon to see something like Android, for example, converting higher than iOS. You can break that out within this setting here. Now we're going to focus a lot on audience targeting here, and there's several features available to you. First, we're going to look at campaign clickers. Campaign clickers is a retargeting opportunity that allows you to reach users who have clicked on one of your own previous Taboola campaigns. In the example shown here, book reviews - mobile, let's say it's a campaign that targets users who were reading a blog about book reviews. And now we want to bring those users back around, and we want to drive them to a particular book purchase or a sale. We can use the campaign clickers item to bring users who've clicked on that previous ad and serve them up with my direct landing page content. This is especially beneficial for earned media. Anytime you cannot place a pixel on a website, you can still drive a campaign to that particular, let's say it's a news article, and then we can bring those users back around and serve them to your landing page to maintain higher engagement. The next tool to look at would be the custom audiences. Now you have a lot of features available to you here. First, you have any audience that you've created using the Taboola pixel that we looked at previously. Say you have users getting to an add to cart page and you want to serve them up to a different sales page, for example. We can build an audience or retarget those users. If you're using the lookalike modeling, any one of those 5 lookalike audiences that are going to be created from your hashed email list will also appear on this particular list. Custom audiences are going to have a slightly larger pool than, say, a campaign clicker's reach, because campaign clickers focus on previous Taboola clicks, whereas custom audiences will pick up data from any user that has visited that particular page where you are storing that data. And lastly, we get into audience segments, also known as our marketplace audiences. These are third-party data providers that we work with, and they offer thousands of segments for you to choose from. We can go as broad as age or demographic targeting. So you look at something like male or female targeting. We can also get as granular as particular product interests. So maybe we want to target users who purchase AAA insurance or who have recently looked at Dove soap. And then there's a slew of segments all in between aimed at general interests, income levels, family sizes, etc. So if you do have a particular audience in mind, go ahead and feel free to add this here. Now, something to keep in mind is that if you are unsure of which marketplace audience to use, simply leave the audience targeting on none. Our campaign and our dashboard will give you all the insights you need to determine which audience is best down the line. And just some additional things to consider when you are looking at your targeting here. Before you choose any data segments, we do recommend running a run of network campaign for at least 2 weeks. This is going to source various audiences that are going to be able to be high converters for you. Also beware layering on too many targets, as it could shrink your audience too much. Say you want to target the state of Rhode Island and you're looking for mobile users on an Android device who fit the age demographic of between the age of 25 and 29. You're looking at a very, very, very small scope. And as a result, your CPCs are going to need to increase significantly to remain competitive and still earn the clicks that you're looking for. So anytime you shrink your audience down, as a default, you want to increase your CPCs to get those clicks coming through. And then ultimately, your campaign summary is going to provide you with very useful insights. We are incredibly transparent with the data we provide to you. So if you would like to run any campaign, we recommend it be run of network. Go as wide as you possibly can and let our data reveal those insights for you. And then we're going to move on to setting a bid and budget here. Now, we're going to start with the bid amount. And most especially, I want to talk about a brand new feature that was recently added to our platform. And that would be our addition of a tool called Smart Bid. Previously, when using our dashboard, you would essentially set a CPC bid, and then you would come in and you would manually adjust on a buy-side basis or a by-campaign basis to increase or decrease your clicks over time. Our newest feature, though, Smart Bid, will automatically adjust your baseline bid to get the most results based on your objective. And this is going to focus on either increasing the number of conversions or the number of page views. It's important to note this is not going to focus on your particular CPA goal. What this will do instead is it's going to look at data across our entire network, and it's also going to look at data that you've picked up with your Taboola pixel, and it will optimize your CPC on a per impression basis to maximize your potential. Now, note that per impression basis, when you're on a manual control with our platform, you're only looking on a per click basis. So this gets very, very granular. Now, a common concern with this type of bidding structure is that it could send your CPC way too high, but we have buffers in place to make sure that doesn't occur. You will never exceed 50% over, or 80% below your average bid that you put in as a base. So there's no worry of scaling too far or significantly dropping your performance out of nowhere. And then also one last thing to note is that any manual adjustments you make, say on a by site level, which we will look at in a bit, those will override the smart bid. So my recommendation here is set a neutral bid and let smart bid do the work. If you have any further questions, our support team would be happy to answer. As we continue along, you have a CPA goal field available. So if you do have a cost per acquisition or cost per lead or cost per install in mind, you can put it here. Again, our smart bid is not going to use this as a tool to optimize towards, but rather it's going to give us just a pinpoint to focus on. Having something in place is just good for regular upkeep of your campaigns and helps you stay on top of your conversions. Then we get into the spending limit. This is the maximum spend that you will allow for any given campaign. Now, for the entire campaign, your campaign will stop running either when we hit your budget cap or when we hit the end date of your campaign, whichever occurs first. If, however, you switch to a monthly flight, your campaign is going to run across the calendar month and it will reset on the first of every month. So if you are looking to have a rolling campaign, it's best to put it on a monthly flight. Just below the daily ad delivery is how we allocate that spending limit over the lifetime of the campaign. If we set to balanced, it means that we're going to attempt to split the budget evenly across the days or hours of your campaign with a buffer of flexibility to account for any click surges. An accelerated daily ad delivery is going to spend the budget as fast as we possibly can. And then lastly, a strict daily ad delivery is going to allow you to set a strict daily cap. So say, for example, you don't want to exceed $100 per day. You can place that in the ad delivery space there by clicking on strict and entering the value. Now, please note that we do have a buffer of up to 2 times the overall spend limit. So at $100 spending cap, it could spend up to $200 in a day, depending on how many clicks are coming in at any given time. It does, for the most part, stay close to that daily ad delivery. And so this is the best way to have a very even pacing across the lifetime of your campaign. Note that if you're looking at very small daily ad deliveries, something like $5 to $10, you could find trouble actually hitting your daily cap because the spending limit is so low that the system is going to start pausing you well before you actually hit that cap limit. And then lastly, we look at the creative traffic allocation. When you add your creatives, we automatically default to optimizing towards the highest performing ads. But if you want to do a more effective A/B test, you can switch it to even. We will not then optimize towards the best performing ads. Now keep in mind, when you do have an even traffic allocation, you won't see the same scale as an optimized campaign. And you also never want to switch this to even in the middle of a campaign's runtime because it could cause the system to reel back and significantly drop your performance. And then as we move along, we finally get to a tracking link section here. The UTM parameters here will automatically append to all of your creatives. Now we default to include Taboola referral information, but if you want to pass back any other information to your Google Analytics platform, you can look into our help center for other UTM parameters, pulling back information like by site info or by item ID. And if you also have your own UTMs, you can add them here as well. But then once you're ready, you're going to go ahead and scroll to the bottom and hit continue. You'll get to a review page to confirm everything is proper. And then you'll be able to go ahead and add your inventory. Now, in the example shown here, you start by adding the landing pages that users will arrive at once they click on your ad. You can choose to add one at a time, or if you do want to add multiple ads at a time, you can simply layer your URLs in the example shown here by just separating them by a single line. Once you click add, you're going to see that the ads appear, and we're going to start by crawling the information from that website. So our system will automatically put in a title and we'll put in a thumbnail for you. That most assuredly you're probably going to want to change because the purpose of adding multiple ads is to offer a diversity of content. My recommendation is to drive multiple ads to the same landing page, but test out maybe 3 to 5 headlines and thumbnails mixed and matched. When you're ready to edit the headlines or the images, you simply click on them and you will get fields like this, like the one shown here. This is an image example. You can edit them by clicking on them and you'll see a field for local file, for web URL, but then we also have a feature for the image library. The image library is born out of our partnership with Getty Images. We've made their entire thumbnail library free for you to use, and these are already in line with our aspect ratios and our image requirements for uploading them on our platform. All you have to simply do is type in some keywords that you think are applicable to your particular campaign, and then we're ultimately going to present you with a list of options that are colorful, have a diversity of people in them, and can really help maximize your creative potential. Once you have made your edits, you will see that it will appear just as you see in this image. You will see the different headlines, the different images appearing, and the landing pages are also available for you as well. You can click on the little box with the arrow to click out to that landing page. So if any of you are using, say, a click tracking link instead of a direct landing page URL, you can use that to verify it's working. You'll also see that the columns break down exactly what you're looking at, and once you are ready, you hit finish along the bottom, and then the campaign will enter a pending status and will go out to our content review team, who will take between 1 and 3 business days to manually review and approve the campaign for our website. Once your campaign is live, we are ready to start looking at your performance. Starting first with the top campaign content link found in the top left of your dashboard. Here we will break down the performance by individual creative item, and you can determine the success of those items by looking and organizing your columns appropriately. You can look at specific campaign items. So if you want to measure the difference between, say, a prospecting campaign versus a sales campaign, you can organize it this way. And you can also pause out creatives. So while we are optimizing towards the best performing ads in terms of click-through rate, you might also be looking to pause out creatives that are driving well above your required CPA limits. Once you've looked at your creative performance, we can then move into your campaign summary. And this is where the bulk of your data is actually going to live. When you're on a given page, you can choose the specific date range that you were looking at. You can adjust the fields that you were looking at on the graph. We will default to display the number of clicks and the total amount spent, but you can overlay any of these other fields as you wish. The tabs along the top give you different formats for looking at the particular data. And then there's also, again, a drop-down found in the top left corner that allows you to sort by particular campaign. Now, as a recommendation, it's always best to be looking at one campaign at a time, as that will have the most applicable data and the most manipulated data. And then lastly, we have a columns feature here. And this relates back to the particular Taboola pixel we discussed a little earlier in this presentation. If you define multiple conversions, say for example, you want to measure who is getting to the order page and who is actually purchasing the product, you can set those up as individual conversions, and we can match the user's path through your particular website, offering you insights into where users are dropping off that platform. As we continue along the campaign summary, we're going to look at one of our primary features here, and that would be the By Site tab. Here you will see a bar graph or a bar chart of all of the websites for which you've been visible on, and this will allow you to compare the scale of your reach. And then the data below will give you a very specific breakdown on each item. Noting especially the buttons over on the right-hand side, you will see the 10% icons in the red circles. The 10% icons allow you to manually adjust your bid on a by-site basis. Say, for example, you have a CPA goal of $20 and a particular website is driving a CPA of $24. We're still getting good conversions and it's still close to where we need to be. So what you might consider is lowering the bid by 10% increments, hopefully dropping the amount of spend, still getting conversions, and ultimately dropping your CPA. Likewise, if a website is well below your CPA goals, you want to start boosting the bid to that location, essentially taking over more volume on that website. And while your CPA might increase a little bit, it's still ideally going to be meeting your goals. And another really useful tool here would be the By Audience tab. I mentioned this slightly earlier that our marketplace audiences can be a huge list to choose through. And so if you're unsure, it's best to start with no particular targeting. Instead, our system is actually going to reveal the insights for you. In the example shown here, you're getting the visibility of your performance across each particular segment. And then you can determine whether or not it's actually worth segmenting those users in particular with a higher CPC bid to maintain competition levels. And note on the left-hand side, just to make things easier for you, we've offered a checkbox that allows you to click on the buttons and then duplicate that exact campaign you're looking at with that audience layered on. So overall, we looked at a lot of material today, but in summary, a couple features for the best success. You're going to want to start by placing that pixel. Without that pixel in place, we're going to have minimal tracking opportunities, and it's going to give us very little to optimize towards. More creatives means more to test. It's best to start with around 5 to 10 creatives in a given campaign, let the system reveal those insights and drive the better performance for you. If you're not sure what targeting to apply, it is always best to start with a run-of-network campaign. A few things to consider is that you should always target by individual platform and at least restrain your activity by country. Beyond that, set the campaigns completely wide and let our system reveal that data for you. You have a lot of targeting options, so beware of going too narrow. If you layer on an audience segment with a location targeting and an operating system at the same time, you could potentially be closing out on users who actually are going to be engaged with your content. And then lastly, your performance will change through time. So be sure to just regularly check in, optimize your campaigns. You might see that creatives are going to stop working overtime, maybe after 6 months due to creative fatigue. And this all gives you indicators of when you should be making updates to your campaigns, adjusting your budget, adjusting your targeting, all because online traffic is ever changing. And at this time, we are ready to take on questions. I have my colleague Sarah here who's going to be reading these off to me. So feel free to submit your questions now, and we will also get to the ones addressed during the presentation.
Thanks, Rob. So first question is, can I keep desktop and smartphone in the same campaign?
You certainly can keep desktop and smartphone in the same campaign. We do advise against it, primarily because your CPCs are going to be different, but also our placements, our buy-side information is separated by device as well. So a placement like MSN, for example, has both mobile and desktop type placements. When you're looking at the campaign summary, you're going to get a mixed bag of results, and it's going to be harder to determine your success long term. So separating your campaigns by platform is a strategy most for long-term advertising. It's helping you get better insights and get better use of your budget.
Great. Next question, how do I block sites that I don't want to run on?
The best place to block sites that you don't want to run on would be from the Buy Site tab of your campaign summary. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there are red circle icons that you can block out on a per campaign basis. If you're looking at all campaigns, that red circle is going to block that placement from the account as a whole. So do be mindful there, as you don't necessarily want to block out clicks for your entire account. That might be beneficial for, say, a website traffic campaign as opposed to, say, a sales campaign.
Next question, how long is the content review process?
The content review process will be between 1 to 3 business days. In most cases, it's around 1 business day. Whenever you see it taking longer, that's typically because they have a surge in content coming through the site. And this is honestly very common, especially during holiday season. So if you're looking at something like Black Friday, that is the time that you're going to want to incentivize to upload your content a bit sooner.
And the last question, oh, we have some more coming in. Are there any resources to assist with creative decision making?
In terms of creative decision making, one of our best used tools and something that you can actually bookmark on your end would be going to trends.taboola.com. That's TRENDS at .taboola.com. There you will see creative insights that you can organize by category. It will show you image trends and keyword trends in terms of favorability, what is working better than others. You're also going to see one of our most recently added features, it's Newsroom Lite, where it's showing you what are some of the most popular topics searching on the web right now. So that particular resource is especially helpful, but also if you go to our Help Center, we have a lot of content on best practices for your landing pages, for your images, for your headlines. All of this material is designed to run the most effective campaign.
Great. Last two questions before we wrap up. So this question is, if my KPI is CTR for clicking on one of the ads on my site, how do I set this up and optimize?
So if your primary KPI is generating the click-through rate, essentially the number of clicks to the number of impressions you have viewable, that's actually a default setting. When we optimize a campaign, it's automatically going to push the ads that are having the highest click-through rate. You'll see the data in your campaign summary of which ones are having the highest click-through, and you can make optimizations accordingly. Good indicator for a click-through rate increase when you are trying to up that level, the first place you will go to is improving your campaign content. So my personal recommendation is start from the top campaign content link in your dashboard, and then you can move on to the campaign summary and determine the placements that are driving the highest click-throughs.
Great. And last question, specifically around landing page setup. Is there a guideline on best practice for landing page? Is it best to run one that's short or long form?
So it ultimately does depend on the type of content. You are going to see that information in our Help Center, but a couple basics. If you are an e-commerce focused client, for example, the best idea is to have a relatively short form, looking at about 600 words, trying to drive directly to a sale. And you probably want a CTA not only at the bottom center of your article, but also softer CTA about 1/3 of the way down the page. That drives very high engagement for sales-oriented content. Another option if you're driving longer form content, say an article or blog post, it's great to drive website traffic. And then you might consider building a retargeting pool and serving those users deeper down the sales funnel down the line. The strategies are very different. We have tools to help you maximize that potential. If you're running with long form content, retargeting tools are going to be essential. If you are looking for short form content, the layout of your web page can determine who's clicking through that page. But to get better insights, utilize the Taboola pixels to set up multiple versions, targeting audiences, and get better insight where users are following through your content. All right, it sounds like we're at the end of our questions, so I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. If you do have further questions, you can reach us at support@taboola.com. I also invite you to take a look at our Help Center found at help.taboola.com. Stay tuned because we do have more coming out in the future. And if you need further assistance now, you can go to taboola.com/resources to take a look at case studies, other webinars we've done, and more blog posts about feature releases. Again, thank you all for your time today. We wish you a wonderful rest of the week and a great weekend ahead. Have a great day.